In moments of uncertainty, we often hold back, but deep inside, we know that it's in the moments of wild surrender where we find the truest parts of ourselves. The heart's desires cannot be silenced by the consequences. It beats loudly, fiercely, as if daring the world to stand in its way. I can feel the pull, the magnetism, the undeniable need to follow where my heart leads. I know the consequences might come, but they pale in comparison to the strength of this desire. I've been afraid of the consequences, but now I wonder, what's scarier, living with the fear of the unknown or living with the regret of not taking the chance? There's an intoxicating feeling when we let go of all the reasons not to and embrace what makes our heart race. It's as if the world stops and we're left with nothing but this moment. The consequences might be waiting, but the chance to feel everything, to experience something real, is too precious to ignore. When you know what you want, nothing else matters. Not the consequences, not the risks, just the intensity of the feelings and the pull that you can't escape. We can spend our whole lives worrying about what might happen, but in the end, we realize that it's the moments we dared to live fully that truly define us. The world may try to hold us back, but in the end, the heart knows no boundaries. It knows what it wants, and when it calls, we cannot ignore its power. I used to be afraid of what might happen, but now I see that the real fear is in not following my heart when it beats so loudly for something that feels like destiny. In the moments of intense desire, the consequences become mere background noise, drowned out by the power of what it means to truly want someone, to feel connected to them in every possible way. When it comes to matters of the heart, there are no rules. There's only the burning need to act, to follow that irresistible call, even if we don't know where it leads. I could spend my whole life wondering about the consequences, but I choose instead to trust in the power of this connection, in the certainty that this moment is worth everything. I've learned that sometimes the most profound experiences come not from caution, but from the courage to face the unknown, to give in to what feels right despite the risks. There's something beautiful about the way we let go of the fear and allow ourselves to be swept away by the intensity of desire. The consequences are simply a fleeting thought in the face of something so real. I could wonder about the consequences forever, but the truth is, I've already decided that the only regret I would have is not following my heart when it led me to you. Sometimes, the consequences are just the price we pay for moments of clarity, for moments of passion and connection that remind us what it means to truly live. It's easy to be scared of the unknown, but I've realized that the true magic is in taking the leap, embracing the risk, and trusting that the experience will be worth everything. There are risks in everything we do, but there are some moments so powerful, so electrifying, that the consequences simply don't matter anymore. The future is never guaranteed, but the present, this moment, can be everything. And sometimes it's worth throwing caution to the wind for the chance to feel something unforgettable. There are times when you have to ignore the voice that tells you to hold back, because in those moments, what you feel is more real than any possible consequence. What if the consequences aren't the end? What if they are simply part of the journey, shaping us into the people we are meant to become after taking the leap? The consequences may be waiting around the corner, but the most important thing is that we lived fully, embracing every single moment of passion, connection, and emotion along the way. When you feel the pull of something deeper, something more powerful than anything else, the consequences become just a passing thought, insignificant in comparison to the depth of what you desire. There is something powerful about choosing the path of desire, of acting on the urge to live in the moment, to feel what you feel, no matter the potential fallout. Every step toward what we want takes us closer to who we are meant to be. And while consequences may come, it's the journey itself that defines us, not the fear of what lies ahead. There are moments when you simply cannot resist the pull of something so intense, so beautiful. In those moments, the consequences are just the price of admission to the ride of a lifetime. I've stopped worrying about the consequences because I've come to understand that true fulfillment lies in embracing the unknown, in daring to live fully no matter the risks. Sometimes we find ourselves caught between the fear of what could happen and the irresistible pull of what we want. The consequences fade in comparison to the overwhelming desire to be with someone who makes our heart race and soul tremble. In a world that warns us of risks and what ifs, we're often told to play it safe. But deep within, there's a yearning that refuses to be ignored, a love or passion that rises above all logical reasons. Every warning, every potential outcome is nothing more than a whisper in the wind when my heart beats louder than the consequences. I want this, and nothing will stop me from following the path to you. There are moments when the heart knows no logic, no reasoning, and no boundaries. It only knows the pull of desire, of longing, of the undeniable urge to embrace what it wants, no matter the cost. I've been taught to fear the unknown, to question the risks, But there are moments when the desire is so powerful, so magnetic, that I am willing to face whatever comes. The thrill of wanting you is worth every consequence. What is love if not the courage to dive into the unknown, to surrender to something bigger than ourselves, even when we know the world may not approve? Sometimes we can't help but crave the very thing that feels impossible, and no amount of caution or fear can stop the overwhelming surge of need that courses through our veins. The consequences are nothing but shadows in the distance when the fire of passion burns bright within me. I know what I want, and no fear can extinguish this flame. I used to worry about what might happen, but now I've come to realize that the only regret I'd have is not following my heart when it speaks so clearly. The heart doesn't ask for permission, it beats for what it desires. And in those moments of pure emotion, nothing else matters but the intense connection we share. There's a moment when you realize that all the reasons not to act seem trivial in comparison to the pull you feel toward someone who makes you forget about everything else. The mind may hesitate, but the heart knows what it wants. When your soul calls out for someone, nothing in the world will silence that call, not even the fear of what's to come. Life is too short to second guess what feels right. When you meet someone who sets your soul on fire, the consequences are nothing but temporary shadows in a fleeting moment of clarity. No matter how much they tell us to be careful, the heart always knows when it has found its match, and no amount of reasoning can dim the spark that burns within. I used to be afraid of falling, but now I embrace it. Because what if the fall leads to a love or passion so deep that it changes everything? They tell us to think about the consequences, to weigh the options. But there's a certain magic in embracing the unknown, in chasing after what makes us feel alive. The consequences may linger in the back of our minds, but the fire in our hearts burns brighter, and in that moment nothing else matters but the way you make me feel. What is life if not a series of moments where we risk it all for the chance to feel something real, something raw, something that speaks to the deepest parts of our soul? We spend so much time weighing risks and consequences, but sometimes the only thing that matters is whether or not we follow our hearts into the unknown. There's a kind of beauty in surrendering to the chaos, in letting go of the fear of consequences, and embracing the unknown path that leads to what we truly desire. I've been taught to be cautious, to think ahead, but the truth is, when it comes to matter of the heart, logic doesn't stand a chance against the raw intensity of desire. What if the consequences aren't the thing to fear? What if it's the regret of never having gone after what we truly want that we should be afraid of? The consequences may be real, but the possibility of experiencing something unforgettable, something true, makes every potential risk seem worth it. In the end, we all want to feel something that shakes us to our core, something that makes us forget about everything else. And when that moment arrives, nothing will hold us back. Sometimes it's not about the outcome, but the experience. It's about feeling everything fully without holding back, even if we're uncertain of where it will lead. The fear of consequences may haunt me, but I know deep down that I would never forgive myself for not chasing after what I truly want, what I truly need. They say to be careful, to avoid the risks. But when you're standing at the edge, looking into the abyss, all you can think about is the leap, the freedom, and the chance to feel alive. Sometimes, the risks we're told to avoid are the very things that lead us to the most beautiful and transformative experiences. No fear can silence the voice that urges us forward.